So this is a half request for the follower of our channel, Ryan Thompson, who wanted me to do something on Vida Blue. Well, I was kind of hesitant because of Vida Blue's involvement in this, and of course the infamous Pittsburgh drug trials. Now, this scandal occurred mostly in '85, and were the catalyst for a Major League Baseball related cocaine scandal that's still being felt some 38 years later. Several current and former members of the Pirates, including Dale Barrow, Lee Lacy, Lee Mazzilli, John Milner, Dave Parker, and Rod Scurry, and other notable Major League players, including Willie Mays Aikens, Vida Blue, Enos Cabell, Keith Hernandez, Jeffrey Leonard, Tim Raines, Lonnie Smith, and Alan Wiggins, were called before the Pittsburgh grand jury. Their testimony led to the drug trials, which made national headlines September '85. Let's put this in perspective, ladies and gentlemen. September '85, the National League and American League, there was a lot of parity going on with Kansas City and Toronto fighting big time for the American League pennant that year. And of course, the Cardinals had a very strong team, as did the West that year. Now, 11 players, and these 11 players played with several key squads in that great 1980s era, were officially suspended. But all the suspensions were commuted in exchange for fines, drug testing, and community service. The drug trials are considered one of baseball's biggest all-time scandals, albeit one that was behind the scenes and did not affect play in the field. Now, Major League Baseball at the time, to my knowledge, didn't have testing for major hard drugs. We all know that there was drug use and sexuality going on, the ball girl scandal in several major league cities. Now, the players themselves were granted immunity in exchange for their testimony. Now, ex-Pirate John Milner, who later played with the Expos, talked about getting amphetamines from Hall of Famers Willie Mays and Willie Stargell. Milner added that he bought 2 grams of cocaine for $200 in the bathroom stalls at Tree River Stadium during a Pirates-Houston Astros game in 1980. Hernandez revealed he used cocaine for 3 years. He later added that about 40% of all Major League Baseball players were using the drug in the early 80s, but he backtracked from that comments, stating that he might have been grossly wrong. I think 40% of Major League Baseball players probably use drugs because with the excess of money, what are you going to do? Eat 4 meals rather than 1? You're going to use drugs or spend it on vice. Tim Raines admitted keeping a gram of cocaine in his uniform pocket, as well as revealing that he snorted during games and that he only slid into bases headfirst so as to not break the vial in his back pocket. Testimony also revealed that Rod Scurry once left the stadium to go looking for cocaine during the late innings of a Pirates game. Drug dealers also frequented the Pirates clubhouse. Even the Pirate parrot, Kevin Koch, was implicated for buying cocaine and introducing a few of the ball players to a local drug dealer. Now, dealer Curtis Strong, ostensibly the Phillies clubhouse caterer, and 600 Pittsburgh men were convicted and found guilty of 11 counts of distributing cocaine by the United States District Court for the Western District of Pennsylvania. Now, Curtis Strong got 12 years, serving 4. Dale Schiffman was indicted on 111 counts, pleaded guilty to 20, sentenced to 12 years, but only served 2 years in penitentiary. Shelby Greer pleaded guilty to 7 criminal counts. Thomas B. Baszler was sentenced to 18 months on a guilty cocaine plea. Kevin M. Connolly, again guilty to selling cocaine, 2.5 years in prison. Jeffrey L. Moscow pled guilty to 3 drug-related counts, 18 months in prison. And Robert McHugh convicted on 7 counts of cocaine distribution. Now, in September 2006, Schiffman and the former mascot Koch were interviewed on HBO's Real Sports with Ryan Gubble in a segment entitled Under the Influence. Now, on February 28, 86, baseball commissioner Peter Ueberroth of LA Olympic fame handed out suspensions of 11 players. All the suspensions were commuted in exchange for fines and community service. Ueberroth also asked each suspended player to submit to voluntary urine tests, and ultimately the Players Association thwarted that plea. 7 players were determined to have been prolonged drug users, while also facilitated distribution to other players and were suspended for a full season. The players were allowed to continue playing under the condition that they donate 10% of their base salaries to drug abuse programs, submitted to random drug testing, and contributed 100 hours of drug-related community service. Of course, the key ones here, Joaquin Andujar, who a big player with the Cardinals, freaked out the '85 World Series, of course. Dale Barry, Yogi Berry's son. Enos Cabell, probably the best talent to never hit his level he should have. Keith Hernandez won a World Series '86 with the Mets. Jeffrey Leonard, a key player with the Giants for a number of years. One of my favorites, Dave Parker, the 79 World Series champ, probably the best overall player of the late 1970s and the early 80s, and of course the multifaceted Lonnie Smith. 4 players were suspended for 60 days, 5% base salary fine, and 50 hours of drug service, including a workman-like reliever Al Holland, Lee Lacy, one of my favorite players, former the Dodgers, Larry Sorensen, of course, former World Series winner Claudette Washington with the A's. Now, 10 other players were named but were not suspended or punished, including the man that a lot of people feel is the best manager in 2023, but I think is one of the most overrated managers of all time, Dusty Baker. Of course, the phenom Vida Blue, who I met in Toronto in '83, who was still basically on drugs at the time. Gary Matthews, Dickie Knowles, Tim Raines, Marnie Samiento, Daryl Sconyers, Rod Scurry, Daryl Thomas, formerly the Dodgers, and the very, very tragedy-laden Alan Wiggins. Now, after the '89 season, Tanner, manager of the Pirates in '77, was eventually fired after a 104-loss season, the team's worst since '54. Now, in July '87, a year and a half after the verdicts, and after Commissioner Peter Ueberroth declared that baseball was free of drugs, which was not true, Smith told the Kansas City Times that under his agreement, he was supposed to be tested 68 times per year, but had been not tested to date in '87. More so, he strongly disagreed with Peter Ueberroth, saying that baseball was drug-free. No sport has ever been drug-free. Several players, although a part of the scandal, went out to rejuvenate careers in the wake of the scandal. Parker eventually signed with the Reds and made the All-Star team in '85, '86, and '90, and still was a very capable two-way player. Hernandez kept his Gold Glove streak going through '88, and of course won the World Series '86 with the Mets. Then Lonnie Smith signed with the Braves and was their comeback player of the year in '89. Now, Rod Scurry died, unfortunately, from a cocaine-related heart attack in '92 at the age of 36. Willie Mays Aikens was convicted in '94 of selling crack and sentenced to 20 years in prison. He was eventually released on June 4, 2008. This was after he showed up with the Blue Jays and it never went any further. Now, Larry Sorensen, after a 6th drug driving conviction, was sentenced to 2 years in prison in 2005. And unfortunately, Alan Wiggins, a heavy talent, died in '91 after having contracted HIV via intravenous drug use. Now, serving as precursor to those listed on the Mitchell Report not being voted to the National Baseball Hall of Fame Museum due to steroid abuse, Hall of Fame caliber players associated with the drug trials have long been thought to be effectively blacklisted from the Hall without being formally banned for baseball, possibly preventing Hernandez and Parker from being inducted, though Raines would eventually be inducted in 2017. Now, the 30 for 30 documentary that came out in 2015 covers it. And I really believe that Timmy Raines deserved to get the Hall of Fame because that was on the early part of his career that he forgave him. But because Parker and Hernandez were in the league for a lot of years, were considered the pure leaders of their teams at the time, and especially what it did to the Cardinals and the Pirates, weakened them as franchise. The Expos had pretty well a team concept because Dawson was there, Carter. It's kind of ironic that Carter would be traded to the Mets and to be working with Hernandez. So the whole situation was kind of bizarre, ladies and gentlemen, because we knew something was going on because the National League at the time seemed to me to be a very, very cosmopolitan league. Past the disco era, there was a lot of big contracts going around. Each team had 4 or 5 marquee players. No matter where they went, there was women, similar to what the Dallas Cowboy franchise was with the triplets in the mid-1990s. You know, party all the time, say like Rick James. But the thing is, Pittsburgh, New York, Montreal, big cities, big drug cities, things are going to follow. It's a 162-game season. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what we're doing here, we're a baseball podcast. Give us a like, comment, subscribe, or share. And rest in peace, Vida Blue, you are missed. Thank you, Ryan Thompson. Have a good evening.